Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. Today is a quick lesson for beginners on antique lamps, oil lamps, kerosene lamps, known by lots of different names. There's lots of them around. They turn up at garage sales, at auctions, on eBay, on Facebook buy, swap and sell groups. Lots of people claim they're antique, some say vintage, some say antique style. So just some simple basics to show you what to look for and give you a bit more knowledge in the area. So out of these lamps, there's two of them that are more modern and the rest are actually quite old. Do you know which ones? Let's start at one end. The first thing to look for, the easiest thing to look for, this one's obviously had a candle shoved in the top. The burner's missing. The first thing to look for is the collar. So the ferrule that actually has the burner screw into it. And this one here is a prime example of a reproduction. It's actually a screw on. You'll see it's threaded. And to fill the font with oil or kero, you actually unscrew like the lid of a jar. This one here, even though it's got lines around it, it actually isn't threaded. And the older style were always put on with plaster. Now this old finger lamp is an old one. There's no lines on that, but the collar is plastered on. Move along to the red one. This one's quite obvious that it's threaded. So that's the first way. Oops, that's the first way to pick. We'll just scan along the others. A nice old patina on that one too. This unusual little finger lamp also has a plastered on collar, and this one here is actually missing the collar. And this is what you'll find underneath if you take the brass collar off, is that normally it's quite rough, quite jagged. That's just how the glass was finished, and then the collar was applied with plaster of Paris in most cases. So that's the first thing to look for. And if you're at a garage sale and you don't have a lot of time, you can pretty well say, alright, that's a reproduction, that one's a reproduction, and then you'd have a closer look at the other ones. Okay, the second thing, and it applies to all glassware, is the actual wear to the base. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to show you. I think you can see in this one around the contact points. Actually, we'll go down to this large blue one at the end because I think it shows it clearly. Don't mind the sticker, that's just a code I use. So if we get the reflection, you can see that the contact areas where it touches the table looks a bit sandblasted. It's quite worn. Now you don't get that on reproduction lamps, and that's often 100 years of a table just being moved around on a sideboard, on a table, and that wear is something that really does indicate age. And also the patina of the brass. You know, always be wary of highly polished brass, and I think if you polish an antique lamp, you're actually doing it an injustice in making it look like a reproduction. So it's a matter of holding it up to the light, getting the reflection on the contact points. It might only be, because they're not evenly made, sometimes it might only touch in 2 or 3 spots. So you'll get used to looking at that, and that's a good indicator of age. Sure, it can be recreated. You could slide a modern lamp back and forward on sandpaper for a while. And look, there's plenty of fraud goes on, but when you add all the indicators together, you can have a pretty good idea of what's genuine and what isn't. Now also be aware of people that say, you know, it was my grandmother's, or my grandmother got it from her mother. Keep in mind that a reproduction lamp like this one was probably made in the 70s, and it's nearly 50 years, and you can actually get some wear in 50 years. So you have to take all these things into consideration. But that one's quite clean around the brass. This one here, even though it looks like it's been polished, it still has an old patina to the brass. And the burner, they're often branded on the wick winder. So anyway, there's some basic information. The chimneys are usually been replaced anyway because they're fairly brittle, and you can still buy the glass chimneys, so that's really not an indicator of age. But certainly look at the hardware, the burner, see if there's any brands on it, look at the way it's attached to the glass font, and look at the wear patterns underneath. Okay, hope you've got something out of that. I'll try and do some regular videos on picking reproductions. I'll also be doing some more garage sale videos at some stage, so be sure to subscribe to my channel and give some feedback. Thanks for watching.